Let's go Ricky Rico, look who's he Johnny Gators and Mussolini, Hannibal, Chris in this party. Red man, a red tsunami, red creeks in a red Ferrari, red clay for your bodies, medical, and ex body, ya, bless. They call me Mr. Manifest. You fellas screaming out the chest. I got this technique better. I found my destination through a red light. Rock your soul through the daylight. Hot your going crazy, right? Nazi going crazy, right up, man, fight. I'm purple haze through the night. I'm thinking chili out of spite. I'm thinking soup for the slice. I'm speaking Alabama cream. I'm South going through the streets. I got rage, I'm a take. Koozie King is outrageous. Koozie. Like a dude in the field, such a core, and I got some fun. Good evening, everyone. I hope that you are well. First name's Donnie, last name's Glover, in it to win it for the long haul, baby. I'm the publisher of BeMoreNews.com. We got established back in 2002. And since then, we have covered news halfway around the world, the White House, all across Maryland, up and down the East Coast. It's pretty bright, isn't it? Ooh. Kill that light. And welcome to the Indigenous series. During the last show, some comments, some thoughts, some insight was shared on Marcus Garvey. And wanted to address some of that tonight. We did do some digging, and just want to read you an overview of what we've come up with about good old Marcus Messiah Garvey. I remember when Mike Lane first brought the topic up on this show, and it wasn't so much that it was new information, because that's something that we deal with on the show all the time, new information. It was just a respect. That was it, just a respect. I think we can disagree on whatever we want, but I just think the respect is essential and necessary. When we do come across new information, say you know something I don't know, or reverse, say I know something you don't know. If we are trying to build our community, if we're trying to bring each other, bring some unity to the equation, some cohesiveness, some cooperation, some unity, it doesn't help us to get caught up on small stuff. It really doesn't. I don't. So let's go into Marcus Messiah Garvey, because we couldn't come back on the show and not discuss it. And so 2 points came up. One, about him being a scammer.
And for those who don't know, Marcus Messiah Garvey, 1887 to 1940, from Jamaica, founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, UNIA, the largest organization of melanated people in the world, 1 million. At his peak in the 20s, he led the largest global Black movement in history, promoting economic independence. We all should agree on that. The Pan-African unity, agree or don't, agree or disagree. Back to Africa, clearly this group has no interest whatsoever in the Back to Africa philosophy. But Black-owned businesses and institutions, we certainly believe in that, 1 billion%. He built the mass movement, well over 1 million followers. Some say millions. He certainly impacted generations. That kind of person can't be reduced to the term scammer. Where the scammer claim comes from, the controversy mainly centers on the Black Star Line shipping company, the one he launched. He encouraged everyday people to buy shares in the company. The ships purchased were old, damaged, and poorly managed. The business ultimately collapsed financially. We all can relate. We all have seen people we know start a business, get investors, and if they aren't good business people, it fails. We've seen other people build empires on their own, brick by brick, by being smart. Critics then and now say that people invested money and lost. I think that's safe to agree on. I don't think anybody's disputing that. The company was mismanaged at best. I think people would agree on that. Some argue it was reckless fundraising. It could be that. But to throw the term scammer in there, it's, you know, I got too much respect for that man's accomplishments to put him in that category. Me personally, you can do what you want. Just my opinion. He was convicted in 1923 of mail fraud relating to the promoting stock in the Black Star Line company. He served time in prison and was later deported from the U.S. Now, if you want to hold him to that standard of legal conviction and say that he is a criminal, you know, you can do what you want. I don't see it that way. Here's the other side. Many scholars and supporters argue strongly that calling him a scammer is far too simplistic and often unfair. There was political targeting. Garvey was under heavy surveillance by the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover saw him as a threat, actively worked to undermine anything that Marcus Messiah Garvey did. Some historians believe the case against him was politically motivated, and considering the assassination of our leaders since then, including Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King, we should not be surprised. Number two, mismanagement versus fraud. There's a key distinction. Fraud is intentional deception. And that's where I think me and Mike Lane got very heated, because calling him a scammer is like saying he was intentional about this deception. Mismanagement, on the other hand, and we've all seen people we know, love them dearly. They try to run a business or even a household, and they're just not good money managers. It happens. Incompetence or poor execution. But scammer, many historians argue Garvey was a visionary but a poor business operator. I've seen it. He was not a con artist. And he had a massive impact. Again, largest organization of melanated people in the world. Malcolm X's parents were Garveyites. The Pan-Africanism. I will heavily agree with Mike Lane on this, because we have been sold this bill of goods that we are only from America. And I think it's safe to say, I sent the link out. I sent it out a half hour ago. Planet got it too. If we can't find a way to overcome the small things that divide us, we're going to get caught up on words. Meanwhile, we're getting shot up. So we can't afford, I kind of lost my train of thought, but we can't, I was reading a note here on the side. We can't afford to get caught up on dumb stuff. We need each other. East Coast, West Coast, inner city, rural, suburban, suburbs. We need everybody. Because we have a common enemy. I don't know if y'all know it. If you peep the game, and as we have pointed out on the show, it ain't always about color. You got people who look like you who are more against you than people who don't. And then, as a business person, I know that strangers, sometimes your help will come from strangers. But that's enough of me talking. Come on in here, Hannibal. Stop hiding, man. Come on out front. I think Planet Wells is going to join us this evening as well. We plan to have a really popping show once the team arrives. It's been a pleasant week. School has been really engaging, loving it. Made a presentation last weekend. Was really glad to get that done. That was 50% of the grade for that particular class. Planet.
There he is. How you
Hannibal.
doing,
What up, though, y'all?
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, y'all. What up with y'all?
Good.
I was up
Rain.
listening to your intro.
Yeah.
Marcus Garvey. Me and Planet just had a little sidebar before we got on the show, about, all the distractions and the things that distract us from the things that happen currently, If our listeners and our viewers haven't been paying attention, some things that directly affect us has been on the world stage. You get what I mean? I think that, we could talk about the past and we could talk about players from the past, but I think we need to spend a little time on talking about current events. I think you heard about Ghana. You heard about Ghana and a resolution.
A couple of things about Ghana I've heard.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this resolution that happened, what it says on March 25th of this year, 2026.
2 days ago.
2 days ago. Ghana's 3 days ago. Let me see, 25th. Today's the 29th. Yeah, 4 days ago. Ghana proposed in the UN declaration that slavery was the greatest atrocity to human history. And it was 3 countries that kind of disapproved with this resolution. It was the United States, Argentina, and it was Israel. And I got to start thinking on why. And it took me down a deep rabbit hole, And I was just wondering, before I go down the rabbit hole, I was just wondering, have you guys heard anything about this?
Damn right we heard about it, man. Go ahead and pop that bubble.
So got me to thinking about the Grand Enlightenment period, like in the 1830s and over there in Europe, with people like Wilberforce and a guy named Sir Thomas Fowle Buxton, and their presentations to the public on why to end slavery. This is why slavery ended in England like 30 years before it ended here. It was a certain reason why England ended slavery. I would rather talk about this in a more just talk about it instead of dropping the bomb. But I want to see if any of our listeners or viewers have heard about this Grand Enlightenment period or the reasoning why England, quote unquote, wanted to end slavery.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that had to do with the Bible, a certain group of people that the Bible is surrounded around. In England at this time, these people believed that the people in bondage were the children of Israel. So these abolitionists weren't just trying to free slaves because the practice of slavery was evil. No, they was trying to end slavery because of certain particular people they thought they enslaved. And this is the reason why, like in the 1860s here in America, that we were freed. I believe that a lot of the reasoning why is being hid, but when you like peel the peel back, you'll start seeing why. Just look at Sir Thomas Fowle Buxton's his speech. There's a couple on here on May 14th, 1833. Then it's another pivotal date, July 24th, 1833. So they was debating the apprenticeship program. And if anybody familiar with being an apprentice is a slave. That's an indentured servant.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever been into the trades, you take on an indentureship. You get what I mean? So if you're an electrician or you're a plumber, you become an indenture, meaning that you only can do so much in this field. Basically, it is the slave system, but really more modern now. But this is the origins of where it comes from. So it was serious business back then in the 1830s because England came off 20 million pounds to pay people to stop slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of money back then, or in today's money. So these are things, this is the conversation that I believe that needs that we've been having in the background, but it haven't been to the forefront, not until this particular UN resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Because
now I'm trying to understand you fully. What are you saying? We have not the conversation we have not been having.
I'm saying the conversation of who they think we are and the reasoning why slavery ended. We never had that conversation.
Okay, did you answer that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that these guys believe that we were the people of the book, and this is the reason why they freed us. This is the reason why. It wasn't nothing else. It wasn't that they felt bad about it. They thought we was the people of the books, and these governments moved as such. And I'm just named. Look at Wilberforce. I know people heard of Wilberforce. Mm-hmm. Look at Wilberforce. Look at Thomas Fowle Buxton. Look at how their movements moved a country. They weren't just preaching or protesting. Their information moved the whole nation to act accordingly. And I think that's what we're seeing these nations currently now kind of fight amongst each other about, in a sense. Maybe it's going, it's a big heavy pill to swallow, but you got to think about reasonings why, and the reason why they stopped slavery, and the reasoning why it's so much of a what's the word like you can use to where people want to control how we think, control the narrative of how we. Yeah, so much manipulation when it comes to us. So I just wanted to throw that out as a food for thought to begin a new conversation, because we're not going nowhere by spinning the wheel, by analyzing the past. I think that we got to sit back and see where we at now in this current day now. And I think that's what's currently been on my mind lately.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to just share that. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
that's a
take the-
valid point to dive into that,
Yeah.
because we are living now, and the present moment is approaching a great intensity in terms of the Western world, in terms of the planet. And, it's so centered around this one area in the so-called Middle East that houses all of the Abrahamic religions, right? So that's a very, very big and valid mode of inquiry that you represent, Hannibal.
Yes, sir. It's something that we had to start thinking outside the box. And we look at the gatekeepers, and I think that's not the problem that's keeping us in this box. It's something more grander than what we've been talking about.
Right. There's
And it's
layers
like
to this.
Yeah, me and Planet was talking about like self-correction and being ready for this time here, and like, because that goes into living in the now, being conscious now, because like Planet say, shit, the world is in chaos, and it's a matter of time before this chaos is here. Have y'all seen how much gas is now? You know what I mean?
Michael
Exactly.
Randolph, but once you kick that link, Michael Randolph, yeah, we've seen the price of gas is ridiculous. It was real low, then it went real high.
Yeah, because this is
relatively low.
The people that we vote into office and their doings is affecting us now. It's been affecting us, but it's affecting the whole world dramatically now. But
Correct.
Back to that UN resolution. It was it's a United States representative to the UN for the what's his name, Dan Negrea, Negrea, and he basically said that the U.S. is not going to apologize because the U.S. wasn't a country at the time slavery happened. So that's a slap in everybody's face, or anyone that looked like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then here's another point when it goes to Ghana and Ghana talking about reparations for this atrocity. What about the indigenous layer? The layer of us having this indigenous heritage, because that's not being spoke of.
Correct.
It's a quagmire. It's like a catch-22.
Nobody wants to go there.
Yeah. I know that's heavy. Start off.
It's like the Epstein files. Ain't nobody want to go there.
Right.
Because that's where the book starts and stops. Right there.
Right. So how you been?
Good. I mean, I'm
you
thankful that the water has stopped flowing full stream. So now it's starting to mellow. It's only like once or twice a day as opposed to all day, every day. So,
man. So the weather be like that over there? So what, them typhoons, or what is that? What they call them type of storms?
Well, this is I guess it classified as a torrential rainstorm, I think is what they call it.
Okay.
And we went through a huge drought. So from my perspective, it's kind of like nature's balancing itself. So we're getting all the water that we lost, you know what I'm saying? So the ground is really sucking it up, and everything is turning green, so There
Okay,
are
that's good to
positive
hear.
benefits,
Right.
but I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
that's a good thing to hear. Our weather been
Hmm.
tricky here too. Michigan is one of them places where it can be 80 one day, 70 next day it'd be 20.
Back to
Like so
20.
we
Yeah.
yeah. So we back up in the 40s now after having
Hmm.
good weather in the 80s, dropping into the 20s. It snowed a little. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of like we say it's cutting off. The seasons is
Hmm.
cutting off.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
other than that, we've been good up here too. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see what we got here.
Okay, Brenda Bennett says it has been publicly talked about that the indigenous were the tribes of Israel. There's a book called The Lost Tribes and the Promised Lands. Yeah, I was up on
Hmm.
that book at one time. That book sold for like $1,000 at Barnes and Nobles, over $1,000.
Hmm. Have they
Now
reprinted it since?
yeah, they reprinted it now, so you can catch it. Fairly
Hmm. Reasonably.
fairly reasonable.
Hmm.
It's a lot of when it comes to this subject here, a lot has been said on it, but a lot of current scholars are not abreast with it. A lot of us might not understand the intricacies of why certain educators or religious minds thought this way.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, and I think that's a query that we should go down and reason with and see why they said this.
Hmm.
Why these certain things happen. Because like right now, ain't no one giving us nothing now. You get what I mean? So
Hmm.
back then, things were more scarce than they are now. So they weren't really giving up nothing back then. So the
Hmm.
question I'm asking is, why was we? Why was slavery ended? And I think that should be on a scholarly level talked about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Researched.
Hmm. Yeah. I
Because
agree.
that just don't encompass those who we call African or African American. And encompass the indigenous people here. What you think that
Absolutely.
the colonists did with the indigenous that they first encountered?
Absolutely.
The first slaves on this
Exactly.
land were indigenous people. So it's something to think about. And I just think about, really discuss, because we all got the
Hmm.
stories of us having indigenous ancestors. A lot of us is on this road to discovery, but it's like now we at the point in history where that discovery is you have to find out quicker, sooner or later. No, later is gonna be a travesty. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like you got to find out now. You got to live in it
Everything
now.
is sped up. Yeah.
Right.
I want to thank Brenda. Brenda has been probably the most consistent viewer of the show once we started the series back in August. And gentlemen, in another 5 months or so, we will have our 1 year anniversary.
All right.
1 year we've been doing the show, we've been touching people, and at the core of it, we are acknowledging our indigeneity.
Yes.
5% of the people transported during the transatlantic slave trade came to North America. 5%. When I share that with people, it's mind blowing. They find it unfathomable. What do you mean? We came in the bottom of a slave ship, and we buy that story. And then I ask them, do you have Indian in your family? Well, actually, my grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee. If your grandma was full-blooded Cherokee, would that make you? And what's there to be ashamed of?
Right. And then, if we want to speak on that, slavery existed amongst the nations too. Like currently, right now, in the Muskogee Nation, the Muskogee Creek Freemen are petitioning the U.S. government to force the Muskogee Nation to uphold their decision to let them into the tribe. They were
Check this out, Amber. I want to tell you when you talk about them people wanting to be let into the tribe, Who cares at this point?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ones who wanted to be in the tribe is the ones who walked out there. So, so we gotta care about them because they walked that. Them
Not
is
no
the
tribe.
descendants of the ones.
Well, who going around asking somebody to be a part of something? It's 2026. Start your own thing.
Yeah. So, like with them, it's like you in a vacuum. You're not actually a U.S. citizen. You actually a Muskogee citizen that's not actually in the tribe. So you're in the void, like being in Washington D.C. and not being able to vote for the presidency. You get it? You know, that's
anything new? Is that anything new? If a million of us join the Muskogee Creek, does it change anything? Or is it going to change when we change it?
Well, I think that like how me and Planet was discussing it earlier, is more being a little bit more sensitive to people's plights. You know, because all of us are, even though we look the same, we all don't have the same plight, and we have to be sensitive to the plight that we have, because the story of our ancestors. No, haven't we? Huh? I don't think we have been sensitive to the plight of our ancestors and the plight of the struggles our people go through. I don't think collectively. I think maybe some of us, but collectively we all, you know, even though you might have some that do, collectively we don't, because the majority of us don't. So we still fall in that category with the don'ts. You get what I mean? That's why I like how people.
No, I don't buy that, because there are people who have always been progressive, and there are people who have always been over there jerking off. In every
think about this, that's just like them black people say, I'm not like them black people.
I ain't gonna say that, you know, because we got them all in our family.
No, I'm just saying, like, how a black person could actually say I'm not like them. Huh? Yeah. I'm just saying that it's basically saying that I always say we are the least of these. We are collectively, even though you got people that's doing the right thing, you know, you got people that's doing the wrong thing. So the impressions of us is these kind of wrong things. So you get what I mean?
That's because of the media.
Right. And who's more presentable online?
That's because of the mainstream media. And that's exactly why we have this platform. That's a huge reason behind this platform, so that we can acknowledge our own reality. Yeah, they don't define me.
No, I'm saying that it's not a defining thing. It's acknowledging.
No, it is. You just acknowledged it. They attempt to define us through the media every day. They show us locked up. They show us, you know, black man not on the scene, black man suing a black woman over $200-300. They show it all the time. Now, black politicians, when they falter, they put us on Front Street. White people do the same thing. They bury it. We know it. Now, what are we gonna do about it?
That's the whole thing. That's where we at. Is it a new becoming a new? Is it start our business differently, our approaches differently? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm being honest. I don't know.
Yeah, you do. We got to get back to basics. We've gotten away from some basic things. Come on in, Planet. It's your time. We've gotten away from some basic things. Grandchildren are calling the grandmother by the first name, or calling the mother by the first name, and it's cute. We done slipped. We done fell off the rocker. We done lost our goddamn minds. We bumped our heads. We've fallen, and we got to get back up. We've lost, number one, respect. Respect, basic respect. You ain't got to be a holy roller to know, and it's universal. Honor your father and your mother. Honor them. You don't smoke weed with your mother, and you don't smoke weed with your child. Come on, Planet, you quiet.
I'm just listening.
Well, it's a show, man. We need you to talk.
There's a lot to take in, you know, heavy conversations, you know. I'm sitting back and it's like, you know, I'm trying to take that accountability and then, you know, or you can't be accountable for what everybody else do, you know. It's a catch-22. Where do we in? What do we want for ourselves in the future collectively? Because I don't know if we all on the same page on that. You get what I mean?
Well, I think
there are people who go ahead, Planet.
I think it's important to realize where to start. Right. So, from my perspective, first you start with yourself. Making yourself better. Then that shows the example to your offspring, children, what have you, to be an example. And then from that family structure, you can branch out into eventually into the neighborhood or your group of people. But if you jump that step of first perfecting yourself, you're going to always run into problems. Right?
I'm gonna go. Can I say this about this comment?
Yeah.
If you so-called African American, your ancestors come from the so-called South, you do got some Muskogee Creek interactions. That's 100% for sure. Now, prove me wrong on that one. I'm talking about we was all the way up to Virginia, the so-called Muskogee Creek tribes. It ain't just one tribe. We talking about hundreds of tribes. We talking about a confederation when I say Muskogee Creek. Not a tribe called that. We talking about a confederation of tribes. Talking about hundreds of tribes possibly. You get what I mean? So we were. If we was in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, you got some Louisiana, you got some Muskogee ties. That's facts.
Mm-hmm.
That's history. I just wanted to just say that. You get what I mean? Sometimes, you know, when we read statements, it's like, okay, everybody don't got Muskogee ties. But if you majority of African Americans come from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, right? You know, we got touch roots in Virginia, right? So let's talk about the native tribes there in them places. And when you get to the so-called nitty-gritty of it all, you will see that the Muskogee was there. When you talk about the Yamasee, you talking about Muskogee Creek Nation. You talking about them ancient African tribes along the seacoast. You talking about Muskogee people. Come on. You talking about Powhatan up there in Virginia. Who was his confederation? What was him? Who did he have over 100 children with him? What tribes was those tribes? You get what I mean? Because he took over 100 women and had over 100 children. You get what I mean? So there was all the tribes that came under that confederacy. Huh?
Child support would have wore his butt out today.
But they took it. But the thing is, you took care of them. They took care of theirs.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was a different system.
Different system.
Yeah, a lot of us find it difficult to understand that the American history story we were sold of cowboys and Indians and roots and Kunta Kinte was a damn lie. I tell you what I really.
I'm saying, do we know the truth? Will we ever know the truth of everything or the reasoning why and what actually happened to us?
I think there was a lot more going on here in North America than we have been formally led to believe.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
on this show, where we have historically had a Afrocentric view of the world, I will tell you, as a result of this show, I very much have a much more Americentric view of the world. I just wonder if there were more artifacts, writings that somehow got destroyed, buried. The Smithsonian is notorious for hiding out information. I got word, I think it was Godfrey, the comedian, who acknowledged, who stated that Trump is looking to do something bad to the African American Museum in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, they defunded it, right? It was defunded recently, a little while back, right?
No matter what these people do, there are too many of us to allow the story of our people to fade away, to be lost from our inventions, from our accomplishments, our scientific discoveries. It will not be lost. There are too many of us who care.
Mm-hmm.
On this continent and beyond, and every other continent.
Facts.
As long as I got breath, I'll be working for that. That's why we got bemorenews.com and blackusa.news.
That's why I got ourheritagehub.com. You know, to do the research, you know, to help people on their way. You know,
and going back to that piece about Marcus Garvey, when we are in business, we got to be serious about it. We got to be serious about it. We got to pay attention. If we really in business, we got to be on it. On it like the latest pair of tennis shoes. We got to be on the latest technologies, just like we're on the latest fashions, the latest Gucci, and all of those fancy names. And something else. We spend exorbitant amounts of money supporting brands by people who historically hate us. Make sure you support a Black-owned business. While you got all that loot, support old boy down on the corner trying to do the right thing. Support the brother selling the final calls or the bean pies on the corner. Support the Black restaurant in your neighborhood. Support it. Go in there and spend some money. If they're doing something wrong, pull them to the side. Don't do nothing embarrassing. Don't put them on Facebook. And I got something else for you, Planet. Going back to the basics. Let's get back to some damn manners. Like, yes, please. Thank you. You're welcome. Somebody holds the door for you. Thank you. Support the visual artists. Support our artists, our artists. I won't say starving because I ain't gonna speak that. Support our artists. Our announcer noted that. Support our own. We spend money. Support. You ain't gotta do it but do it when you can. A friend of mine told me how he made a very large purchase and he had some money left over and he took it straight to the church. And not just any old church. This is my God brother's church. And I know they certified. They about their work. They ain't, you know, some churches done had a building fund for 50 years and ain't built nothing. You don't even know what I'm talking about. We got to be about, if we say we're going to use this money to do something, we got to do it. Integrity is everything in business. They can't tell you I lied or stole.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's against the rules. It's your integrity. It's your word. Your word's supposed to mean something.
Supposed to.
Tony Green says, my family came from Scotland and England, copper-colored Negro, Israelite to Virginia, married native. Good evening to you, Tony Green.
Yeah.
The roof's still leaking. The African slave catchers were not of the same heritage as the Africans they enslaved. The Yoruba and Igbos, as Nigeria, were known Hebrew Israelites who were taken from Africa by other African groups. There are many Yoruba among us here today. And we posed this question for those just tuning in. We posed the question back in August. Are we Moors? Are we Hebrews? Are we Indigenous? Are we all three? And invariably, we have agreed that we probably have a bit of all three in us, collectively. And not all, but a lot of us, a lot more than we have ever thought collectively as a people. When we were watching the cowboy and Indian movies, man, I still know I wish the Indians would win. Every one of them playing it. Every one of them. I remember this one cowboy and Indian movie, the Indians whooped that his ass. The Indians went to town on these cats. I was a little boy. I was, yay, yay, get him, get him, get him, get him. As a little kid.
Yeah, what you was talking about earlier, Planet, about the Hopi and their prophecies and some of these prophecies coming true.
Absolutely. You know, the Hopi's been on it because once again, the ancient people clock time much more advanced than we clock it today. So just like you know, the early farmers, you know, got together and ultimately created the inspiration for the Farmer's Almanac.
Right.
You know, that's a book of time. So that, you know, a farmer would know when to plant, when to this, when to that, you know. So life is just like that. You know, and we're in a specific time now. And this is evident by things that we thought we were past have come back to haunt us. And humanity is still locked up in the vice of wars. And most people think that wars, because of the program, wars are necessary. Right? So we are here and we do have to deal with it.
This is the graphic that was that Hannibal was alluding to earlier. I couldn't get this thing loaded to save my soul, but we finally got it up here for you. As you can see, I heard this lady, she said, "Isn't real?" She said, "Isn't real?" Anyway, Argentina, Israel, United States voted against this. The rest, another 52 of them abstained. But nonetheless, the people in favor of identifying slavery as horrible and horrific, you know, far outseated those who went against it. And it's so interesting. Right now, this country is going to war. And you have melanated soldiers, melanated Americans fighting in these armed forces, fighting for a country that would rather see you a slave.
Very, very complex.
And body bags are coming home. Because this country voted for a president who has no damn sense. I watched this one thing on social media. It sickened me to my stomach. It said that Justice Clarence Thomas should be the chief of the bench. And had all of these non-melanated people saying he's a great guy. Isn't it interesting how one group of people can look at Clarence Thomas as an okay guy, and then you got all these black people over here who want to kick his ass? Isn't that interesting? And it just goes to show that we can't allow other people to choose our leaders because they wouldn't like it if we chose their leaders. Now, as for Mr. Trump and the delusional people that he tends to motivate, what did he say about the Republicans? He said they were the dumbest people on the planet in the country. Isn't that what he said before he ran for office?
I think he said.
Do y'all remember that?
Vaguely.
He said the Republicans were the dumbest people in the country. Something to that effect. Wouldn't believe anything. They would go for anything. You have had poor white people who are so hateful about Obama's 8 years that they would rather have a maniac lead the country just out of pride, I guess, or ego or stupidity. I don't know what it is, but it is not common sense.
It's the ultimate programming. They've been.
What's up, Roy Shabazz?
Peace.
Yeah, so we're going to go and be on the front line in a war for a country that voted against me being free? You got to be out your rabbit ass mind. You got to be out your damn mind. If I'm going to send my kids to fight for you, you done bumped your damn head.
I think that's why I brung it up, because that's what we're facing, because, they raised up the draft age, right? They recently did that.
Would they raise it up to 55 or something?
Yeah, something like 10 years crazy, So it's like
by some poo butt ass politicians who wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. When I saw J.D. Vance talk to the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, I wanted Zelensky to get up and whoop his ass. I wanted to see it. Oh, I wanted to see it. I wanted to see him just haul off and baptize his ass.
Yeah, that's the foreign round of Reagan, right? Zelensky was an actor, right?
Yeah.
No, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. He was over there in the Oval Office.
He was an actor.
He was a comedian.
Yeah, he like Reagan. Like what I said.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He wasn't really a lifelong politician. He's like an actor, comedian, like me and Planet was saying. So it's like someone for the people love him. You get what I mean?
See, the horror is that they're all actors.
And what is this? What is this? So much hatred. I don't understand for white males to have so much access, good credit and stuff, the ability to live where you want, and you still not happy. I'm not talking about all white people. I'm just talking about these ones with this drive, or like the ones that Godfrey keeps highlighting in the Leave Black People Alone videos. Have you seen those, Planet? And it's always the same. Some white guy over there messing with a black person, and they get warned, go on now. And they tell them again, go on now. Why does it always have to get to a damn beatdown for somebody to realize, hey, I'm being rude, I'm being disrespectful, I'm being racist, I'm being hateful? Because where I come from, you learn that lesson at an early age, and it's not so much from a people of a different race. You learn respect. You learn when you don't know what to say out your mouth, somebody gonna punch you in your mouth. And why would you say something mean to somebody anyway? You have access. You white and in America. You have access. What is your problem? You don't want anybody else to have any? Well, then you got some mental health issues that you need to go see a therapist about. Because we're all on this planet. We all are owed sunshine. And we all owed some basic human respect. It's not complicated. Stop making it difficult. This is not your country. Let's get that shit out the way. It was never your damn country. When you die, you going in the ground. That's what you own. You own your body.
You guys ever heard
of don't move next door to me, you can't live in here? And who does that? What sick son of a bitch thinks like that?
I think
that
it's someone,
no one else in the world should have sunshine and flowers and Earl Grey tea with honey. Or that it's okay to manipulate the people in South Africa or Sierra Leone for blood diamonds, or the people in Nigeria for oil. And you just suck and suck and suck everything, and nobody else is supposed to have that. It's not happening, boo-boo. I don't know what you thought. It's not happening. You got away with it long enough. You need to pack up and go home, because this new generation is not having it at all. In the name of God.
Would a group of people go to them extremes to cover up what their brightest minds were saying, divine retribution? That's why I started.
It's coming. That's like my mother. When my mother promised you an ass whipping, you best believe you gonna get it.
So this is what their ancestors believed. This is the reason why they freed us. They believed that they was gonna get divine retribution. So now you got these politicians now that's covering up this ideology and thinking that their predecessors had. You get what I mean?
Well, yeah. Ideology is very, very powerful. Right?
Mm.
So, in World War II, you had Japanese kamikaze pilots, right? And these pilots would, if they ran out of fuel or bullets or whatever, they would go down and drive the plane into the aircraft carrier or whatever, right, of the enemy, right?
Right.
Because they had embraced the ideology of Japan and the nobility of that to the emperor.
Right.
So their life didn't even mean nothing. It was about doing the emperor's bidding, right? So that was fused with the ideology. So when you're dealing with, in other words, ideology also could mean that you are, completely loyal to the cause, even over your own intellect or feelings, right? And that also is wrapped up in the concept of what? A holy war.
Right.
So you can see the subtitle of the war that we are currently in terms of America, Israel, Iran, and the so-called Middle East, right, is the subtitle is a holy war.
Right.
Right. Well, when we look at history, we see that, from the Roman Catholic side, you know, which is a lot of South America, a lot of the world, right, is based on the concept that the Pope is the vicar of Christ. That means that the Pope is the stand-in on planet Earth until Jesus gets here.
So that's another. Is that another word for viceroy, vicar?
I think there's roots there.
Mm.
You know, I don't know the exact etymology, but I would assume that. Right.
Okay.
So when you have that type of mindset, you know, you have to go back to Neely Fuller, saying if you don't understand white supremacy and racism, you will clearly be confused. Right.
Yeah.
So this whole thing that's going down is a smokescreen for other stuff that's going down. That's always the case.
Right.
You know.
The overlay for the underlay.
Yeah, you may think that it was just, you know, American troops holding back communism in Vietnam, right? And they were fighting for the good people and other people were bad, you know, that kind of thing. All of that, as time went on, they found out all of that was kind of bullshit.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That it was a different play that they was doing over there.
Right.
So
like
similarly, this thing in the Middle East is different from what they telling you this is.
Right.
Right.
Like
it has more. It has more to do with the petrodollar than it has to do with saving any people. Right.
Yeah, it's just so we get into the ideology. When I say ideology, the thinking behind man and why they do certain things and why they come up with certain laws and things is all
correct.
Them with their religious beliefs is what we're trying to instill into the viewer. It's not our views and opinions. It's not my views and opinions. I'm
correct.
saying that what we're living in is people's ideologies and what they think when it comes to religion.
Correct.
You get what I mean? And the oppression that our people have witnessed have come from these opinions that these people have had with religion. Correct. You get what I mean? And still today, you get what I mean? It still have to do with impressions and religion. You get what I mean? That's at the core of it.
And there's a particular fight within the structure of Abrahamic religions that would be Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Right? To say which one of them is the true religion. Now they all can agree on that there's one God. Yeah. But the fight is over who is the true religion, because the perception is, I don't believe this shit, but the perception is if you are with the true religion, you will inherit the earth. That's the rap. But there's contradiction, because in the book it said the meek shall inherit the earth. So, you know, it's a play of work. That's why it's incumbent on one to find their truth within themselves and then transmit that truth to their immediate family, and then extend that to their broader family or their broader tribe, to elevate oneself out of this absolute total madness.
Right.
But it takes a lot, you know.
Self-healing, self-correction. we kind of touched on it before we had to get on the show about, some of the things that can help us get back in tune with that self that we had. You get what I mean? Withdrawing for certain things, like, Donnie hit it on the media, you hit on the spiritual connection, like how you hit the bell and everything. I hit on the research and of learning the ancestors, but I think it's other areas that we have to be more proficient in now to usher in this change that we need.
Absolutely.
Well, Planet, you remember this picture? Minutes after Reagan's 1981 inauguration, the remaining U.S. hostages were released. They were flown to Wiesbaden Air Base in Germany, and the terms of their release, including the unfreezing of Iranian assets. But this particular picture,
no, I hadn't seen that. I had not seen that. That's very okay. I'm glad you pulled that up. I hadn't seen that one.
Well, this particular picture, a group of released U.S. Embassy staffers in Tehran hold a press conference November 19th, 1979. The Ayatollah Khomeini ordered the release of female and African-American hostages, bringing the total number of Americans held to 53. Another hostage was later released due to illness. He ordered the release of female and African-American hostages. The Iran identified with Black people's struggle in America. '79 was when the helicopter went down. They went over there to get the hostages. Jimmy Carter was the president. The helicopter went down, and it was what do you call it? Black Hawk Down before Black Hawk Down.
Sure. That was something I was just 5 when that happened. When did what happened at the Olympics, and when that Olympics happened and they killed them people at the Olympics? That got to do with some of these countries.
70 something, I think. Early 70s, I think that happened.
It was somebody. It was at Ireland, and some people from Ireland took some hostages and killed them or something at the Olympics.
No, it was the
Munich.
Yes,
Munich in '72.
Was it the PLO?
The Summer Olympics in Munich, West Germany, were the site of the hostage crisis, where the PLO from Black September Group took 11 Israeli athletes and coaches hostage, culminating in all their deaths. This tragedy, which began September 5th, 1972, resulted in a total of 17 deaths. September the 5th, 8 terrorists breached the Olympic Village, killing 2 members of the Israeli team immediately and taking 9 others hostage.
So that's ironic, right? So you see that in 72, then you see in 78, 72 in Germany, then in 78, these hostages from Iran get released in Germany. 79. What year did the Berlin Wall come down? That was when Reagan got in office, right? That's right. Remember, East and West Germany was divided back then. I remember that much. And I remember Reagan says, he made that famous line. He said, "Tear down this wall."
Right.
And that was in the 80s, right?
Yeah. Gorbachev. Yeah. And yeah.
So now it kind of makes kind of sense of how they divided Germany, because the Germany we see now is not the Germany that we're talking about from the 70s.
Correct.
Yeah, I've been to Germany one time.
Germany and Russia got big beef.
Yeah. I've been to Frankfurt.
Some say they're gonna throw down again in the future.
Remember that? What war was that when Germany was trying to destroy all the European nations, and they took the war all the way to Russia's doorstep, right? From
Yeah,
all the way from England all the way over.
that was Adolf's crew.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
were trying
that's
to
what
take over the
caught
world.
that's what cost them. What a lot of people don't know is that in terms of the countries that lost the most people in World War II, it was Russia who got really, really, really beat up by Germany.
Did you know that it's a lot of
Horribly.
African Americans that left America and moved to Russia to help them fight a war too?
Yeah,
That's how we get, what's his name? That's how we learned about Hannibal, like
Yeah.
Alexander Pushkin and all them folks.
Pushkin, yeah, the poet. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we ain't learned about Hannibal because he was a descendant of Hannibal. We wouldn't know about him.
And then they got Putin, saying that they discovered some old paintings and this, that, and the other that showed that the biblical figures were actually dark skinned.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a deep lick.
Yeah, it is. Because you really start thinking about like around the time that goes back when Marcus Garvey was putting his team together, right?
A little bit
that
earlier.
was about the time with Hitler and all that, right?
No, that was more like I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was World War I.
That was World War I when 17, like 19, okay. So so Garvey was right after that, the 20s, right?
Yeah. But it was before. I think it was before World War.
So it seemed like we lost Planet for a minute. He should be coming back, y'all. Yeah. So like we were just talking about Germany and Hitler before World War I and everything. It seems like I'm the only one online right now, everybody. So hopefully everybody be able to come back. But let's get some, highlight some of these comments, everybody. So Doc Gable, the American Indians, part 2, he said Bush was actually the president in the late 1980s. Reagan was gone mentally. Yeah. I say that because Reagan had 2 offices, right? I think he came in office, was that like 1984, somewhere around there? I think I was about in the 5th grade or somewhere around there when Reagan came in office, or was it 80? Or was first Bush came in office 88, right? I ain't for sure. Look at my man's and look at Donnie right there. So fellas, when did the first when did Reagan come in office? Could you pull up that? When did Reagan come in office? Was that 80 or was that 84? I know 92 Clinton came in office.
Yeah.
88. Yeah, 80. Yeah, so the first Bush did 2 terms too, right?
We won in 81. We won in 80. Started in 80.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because that first Bush did 2 terms too. 80. Okay. Or 1 term, whatever. I know.
Yeah.
It's just all a cluttered mess to me. You thinking back on it. Presidencies. But we were talking about like the play on Germany and them fighting.
Right.
I think
you can see all over Europe
about
all over Europe they fighting. They've been fighting over there forever.
Isn't that the story? The 3 Musketeers got something to do with like England, Germany, and Russia?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah.
Wow, that's
all of that stuff. They've been warring. Before they was warring with melanated people, they were warring with themselves.
Right.
France against England, or Spain against France. That kind of thing. And so when they came over here, that's why they carved up the Americas. Just like they carved up Africa, where they said, no, you take this part, and you take this part, and you take this part, the Belgian Congo, okay, we'll take that. Or the Dutch will take, South Africa, whatever.
Right.
Right? That's what they do. Because it comes from this heavy programming, this heavy embracing of this egotistical perspective that they are the rulers of the earth and everybody else is primitive.
Okay.
They got a deep form.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's what the
Okay.
mindset, the
Einstein,
delusion is.
the
That's what the
delusion is
delusion
real.
is. That's right.
The bad part is those of us that fall for the okie doke. And I mean those of
Correct.
us who are B-wicks. I heard a comedian talk about B-wicks. You know what a B-wick is?
No, I'm not hip.
Black when it's convenient. A B-wick.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
BWIC, black when it's convenient. What's going on with you, Dan Tanner?
Dan Tanner. Yeah.
Oh, we got a history major. We're gonna put the link in the chat for anybody that wants to share their thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got in Detroit, we got a huge cow dig community like that right there on 7 Mile Woodward area. So the cow, yeah, so they more like Christian Arabs. So they're not Muslims, they're Christians. So
was that your dog, man?
Oh no, that was that was my son going in the back with one. And I lost one. I was telling Planet this morning. I lost one of my pups this morning. You know, one of them passed away this morning. So
sorry to hear
my oldest one.
Yeah.
So it's been a day for me. But other than that, it's been, I'm still progressing, still doing my study, and still trying to help my people with, with the knowledge I can share with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great time to do a plug for your business, man. Put a plug in for your business.
Well, my research business is my website is ourheritagehub.com. If people can go up there.
Yeah, it's down there. Mm-hmm.
You can go on there. Now I've been getting since the last show, I got like about 40 people that asked me to help them with their research. I'll send a couple people some information I've found so far. So if you want to get your ball started with your family research, you can reach out to me, ourheritagehub.com, or you can say contact. That's the information, that email, contacts@ourheritagehub.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's how then you'll be able to get at me.
Yeah. I like that. I like it. We got a number of events coming up. We got a Black Wall Street coming up April 11th in Baltimore County, in what we call Randallstown or Milford. We have one April 14th in Chelsea, down in Manhattan. So you can go to Black Wall Street Milford, .eventbrite.com. You go to Black Wall Street Chelsea, .eventbrite.com. We also will be doing one in Sparrows Point, breaking news, Sparrows Point. And we will be doing one in Woodlawn, breaking news. You heard it first right here on the Donnie Glover Show. Indigenous Planet. How have you been, sir? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been taking it all in.
You should have been a lawyer.
I've been taking it all in. I'm so glad that we have power again. I can tell you that much. So I was trying to use the time of no power to go in. So I did a lot of meditation and prayer and stuff like that. But now I'm getting back in action. And how about yourself?
I'm good. Finish this for me. I brought you in this world.
I'll take you out. That's your mama.
That's right. That's right.
A fool and his money.
Soon.
Soon will part. The gemstones. Yeah. That's right.
And how about this? Time waits
For
no
one.
Yeah.
A bird in the hand.
It was worth
these two
of them in the bush.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the young people might not understand that. That means if you got it in your hands, don't follow no illusion. Somebody telling you something. Have it in your hands first.
That's right. Don't
50
get
cent
tricked.
in your hand better than 50 cent.
Yeah.
How
about this? Look what our Nasa said.
A hard head. A hard head leads to a
soft. Yeah.
How
about this? Don't write a check. Don't write a check. You know that one.
You can't cash. That's right.
We, you know, people got a lot of.
Feel like a frog. Bernie Mac said, "If you feel like a frog, leap,
breathe." So
it's true.
Got some biblical discussions going on in the chat. Ishtar Linku, I don't know if Ishtar, you messing with Brenda Bennett. She is certified.
Ishtar,
yeah, but all is well. We got a big election coming up in my city in June 23rd. I talked with a dear friend of mine in Texas, and they are gonna, keep pushing and supporting Jasmine anyway.
What's the election?
Well, she lost her Senate run. She left Congress.
You said there was an election coming up?
Oh, in Baltimore, yeah, in Maryland. It's the governor's race, a race for state senators, for state delegates.
Oh, really?
And for some other positions like sheriff of Baltimore City, sheriff of Baltimore County. And it's important that people get involved.
Absolutely.
I never thought you were slow, Ishtar. I'm just telling you, Brenda Bennett is very, very certified. That's all I'm saying. I'm not demeaning you. Welcome to the show.
Hey, but you gotta be. Some of them guys on the street got some hell of a intelligence, Ishtar. So that's it takes an intelligent person.
I was just trying to caution you. That's all. Brenda go deep.
Yeah.
Brenda go deep. Glad to see Brenda's back.
Yeah, we talked about her a few shows back.
Oh, come on, Ishtar. What's up with this? Come on, man. Ishtar, you come here with a negative attitude, and we're just not for that, partner. We just not for that, bro. You got this is the wrong platform. We about peace and growing. It's Sunday evening. We don't want no smoke.
But what's the other? We were just talking about accolades. Where they say talk is what?
Cheap. I was just trying to caution you. But anyway, come on with some peace, man. Y'all checked in with Mafia with Horace?
I talked to Mafia a few days back. Mafia been doing some like home renovations. He posted some pics of his work. He did some decent work, like drywall and finished work at some houses. So that's what he's been busy doing lately.
Good.
So he's been doing that. So I'm proud of him.
Absolutely.
Nothing like having a project, man. Something to do, someone to love, and something to hope for.
Right.
Anybody heard from Horace?
Still haven't heard from Horace yet. My prayers go out to Horace.
Absolutely.
Have we shared on the show how he is or his status? People may have wanted to know. We didn't say anything.
No, sir. I think I'm gonna reach out again and then, see what we can go from there. Hopefully next show we'd have heard something from by then. I'm just keeping up with what Ishtar saying. We should send him a link to come on the show.
I put the link in there. I put the link in there for him some time ago. But I'll put it in there again. I was thinking back to that show where we had the white guy join in, and didn't take him long to get frustrated, and he left the show calling us the N-word.
Right.
Oh, that homie.
Yeah. And that took the show. I mean, the algorithm went crazy. That show had 10,000 hits.
What was he? Wasn't he promoting himself as Native or something?
Yeah.
A Creek Indian.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I think that Ishtar, I think that's if I ain't mistaken, I got to do with Chickasaw, right? If I ain't mistaken, right? If am I correct, Link Q? Ishtar Link Q? Is that Chickasaw?
What is God's name? God has many names. I always say, if you were Chinese, you were born and raised in China, spoke Mandarin or what have you,
all I know is
a totally different language and a word for everything from water to God.
All I know is God don't speak English. That's all I know. Messing with some like mortal languages. Come on, man. God speaks in trees and flowers and sunsets and rainbows and planets and galaxies. What, you gonna talk about God's grammar? Come on, man. Come on now. Right? That's man trying to understand God through allegory.
So I know I've seen some. I know that ish. I was just doing my due diligence and research. I know that had to do something with Chickasaw. He say Cherokee, and anybody know I call out anybody say call themselves Cherokee because that's what we called them when we found them on our land down there. So the Cherokee don't even call themselves Cherokee. So I know that. So I'm looking closer. So that got to do with over there in the Middle East, like how we begin our stuff, like with the Epic of Gilgamesh and all that type of stuff. That Ishtar and the goddess and all that type of stuff.
Right, Sumerian.
I don't know what type of angle you coming with, or cousin. You know what I'm saying? But okay, I get you. But it's non-productive to be going at people like that.
Yeah. We gave him the invite, didn't take it. Choctaw.
Yeah, Choctaw.
Alito.
But you notice that a lot of the indigenous languages didn't even use certain vowels we use. They only use like the letter A and sometimes E. Might have an O.
So I want to try this for Donnie. I did see that. I did see the Ghanaian cat on there talking about reparations, and I thought, like, what the hell you want reparations for? If anybody should get reparations, it should be the people over here. Last I checked, y'all got paid, cuz.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
I didn't quite understand that, Donnie. I didn't understand it at all. But we see it here in my community in West Baltimore. We see people wanting to claim our community when it comes to getting the grant, but when it comes time to serving the people, they're nowhere to be found. Yeah, there are many gods. They go by many names. Brendan Bennett says sometimes it's good to understand the etymology of the word before it gets tied to representation. The root of the word, the history of the word, where it comes from. Okay, Planet, it's about that time, big brother.
Okay.
Bring it on, Planet. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. We will be back Thursday. I got sidetracked. Man, Thursday went, woo, it went straight past me. I ain't gonna lie.
I know that's right. All right. Now let's take three breaths. Hold it for 3 seconds. So here's 1. Here's 2. And here's 3. Send the energy to your loved ones. We shout out Horace Lee IV, protection and guidance. We shout out Minister Balone, all right, for insight and deeper meditation. We shout out to Mafia Shakur for protection and success in his endeavors, and all our other people that's down with this inquiry. Okay, so here we go. Follow the sound. Peace and blessings.
Peace.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Good evening, world.